Seems like we're live now, Brad.
All
How
right.
is it over there on the pond?
Doing fantastic today. Beautiful sunny day up here
Yeah,
in Georgia.
that's nice. What is the most memorable thing that happened last week, except from you guys getting a new president?
Most memorable thing for me last week?
Yeah,
Well, it was a relief to get the new president and have that kind of just checked off the list. Over here, I don't know how you guys see us from y'all side, but it's very polarizing over here. They really, try to act like we don't like each other out here when really we're just one big happy family. So, um, but for me, I treat every day like it's grand opening day. It's just business as usual. Follow the plan, wake up, bring value, try to bring impact, and keep on pushing. So I appreciate you having me on the show today. So hopefully we can bring impact to a lot of people all over the world. So appreciate it.
yeah. Likewise, I wanted to say warm welcome to you, Brad. You've been such an inspiration already. I've seen some of the rooms that you and your team has created, the nest, as you will figure out on this webinar that Brad and his team calls it. We are going to talk about digital sales room. Welcome everybody. We're going to talk about how Brad's team is using this to beat bigger, more known, more resourceful competitors, stand out from them, and present in a light and a way that really impresses and delight buyers, and basically makes them win the right deals. I'm going to be your host today. My name is Matthias. I've been with GetAccept for 5 years. And let's hear where you guys all are tuning in from. It will be fun, what a webinar classic, but what are you guys most excited about? Feel free to share where you're tuning in from, what you want to get out of this call, and we'll be on our way. Brad, I think I would want to hand it over to you and just get a little bit of introduction of who are you? Why should people listen to you on this subject?
Yeah, I'm Brad Parker, founder of FormPiper. My roots are retail. So I was a retailer for 20 years. And I really like to identify problems and solve them. It was really kind of one of the things I would teach in my business. And, over my journey of retail, we identified a problem around consumer financing and the struggles that my business was having. So I built FormPiper. So I'm the founder of FormPiper. We started that 5 years ago as well. So congratulations on your 5 years. FormPiper's focus is really about bringing value to retailers so they can automate their consumer financing. And one of my big pillars, and I think where maybe I could bring value to everybody here, is I'm really big on presentation. So if you own a retail business, people are going to walk through your doors. And if you walk through the doors and that presentation isn't on point, if people don't feel welcome, then they're not going to turn into a buyer. And so as I transitioned from retail over to SaaS, everything was different. I didn't have four walls. I didn't have people walking through my door, right? We still booked reservations so we could do appointments to do demos. But what was that presentation? How could I make people feel welcome in my SaaS business? And that's what GetAccept has done for us. They've let me build my four walls, build my aisles, if you will, right? So I'll have all of my products nice and organized, clean and professional, front and faced, so I can really present those products to my customers. And I think one of the biggest values is what I'm finding too, as you move upstream, people are busy. And people really want to get information on their own time and their own schedule. So if I can provide them with the great digital room with all of the information so they can get educated on their own schedule, they really appreciate that. They come back ready for the next meeting, and ultimately hop on the product, so that's the value I think I could bring. So I'm super excited to talk about it. Thanks for having me.
You're going to share, a lot of best practices. There's going to be actionable advices on this webinar. The agenda today is we're already far into the introduction here, but we're basically going to go through how do you create these digital sales room. We already have the nest ready, so Brad is going to walk you through how they're using it. And after that, you'll get a giveaway. Essentially, we'll give you a little digital sales room playbook with the best tips from this webinar, where we've already cheated and created that already. We also have a little icebreaker where we're going to ask you guys for how you guys working with upmarket today. Anybody doing it already? You'll probably see that poll in a minute or so. And then we're going to basically go through how this digital sales room usage of impressing buyers with these tools and how you stand out from competitors. And again, with Brad as like the genius here, because his team has been using this lately, and I think I speak from all of the GetExit team when we're talking about they're some of the best practitioners out there, and they've actually inspired our team as well. So the people that actually created the category were inspired by some of our customers, and including especially FormPiper here on how they're using it from anywhere from selling to onboarding to working with lending partners and so. But to basically shape up the screen, we're going to ask you, where do you have an upmarket motion right now? Is anybody going up? Is anybody going down? I see there's a little bit of feedback here. Some people are crushing it. Some people are going to be happy where they're at, and some people are going to plan on it. And it's going to be interesting to see where the poll results are going to put us. What we're obviously going to see based on the feedback we're getting from our buyers today, we're talking with many buyers, and probably you as well, Brad, is that going up market is not just about, selling to bigger clients. It's also that time part that you're talking about. People are very protective about their time. So you're basically telling me that you were doing this earlier, trying to do it on emails, and you're basically telling me it was almost impossible to do by email. Could you tell us a little bit about what actually happened back then? Because I think that's something that is very interesting, because I think a lot of people on here are used to just having emails, PDFs, and links, and sharing that across, a long sales complex buying journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you think about really any product, you want it to be simple, but there's complicated parts to it, and you need to be able to visualize it. So if you do a great demo and you're following up with somebody, if you're just following up with a simple word, text, email, you can't really continue to visualize the product. And really what was most important in the email follow-up, and what I always found is, especially when you're going upstream, they always have somebody else they need to talk to, right? So you're typically not going to close somebody on that first call. So what we do is we would create the digital room, we come in, we do the presentation in the room, and then we follow up with an email that has the link to the room, so they can simply just hop right back into the room and go back through the presentation. Like, we've all played the game when we were kids, the telephone game. You start at one end of the room, everybody has to whisper in the ear, you get to the other side. It's a completely different situation. So imagine having this great product, you do this great presentation, everybody's pumped up on the call, and then you get to the next call, and the other three, potential, key decision makers have no idea what your product is. They're like, oh, well, does it do this and this? It's like, no, what did they tell you, right? So, and an email can't really just visualize it. I know when I shop, I always have, that initial picture in my head about what something's going to be like, and then you get there and it's completely different. So having that digital sales room where the team can share with their entire team everything that you've gone over, you can upload videos, PDFs, everything that you need to get into an email, right? But you can actually visualize it. It just really just takes your business to the next level. We talked a little bit about it. It's almost like you get to skip meetings, right? And anytime you can skip a meeting by delivering information, to me, it's massively value. Like, I'll even do a pre-video in the room, send it before the initial meeting. So now when they come and we go through the room, they've seen it. They're already coming in with questions. We record that and then put that into the follow-up, post demo nest, and then send it. And so you're just able to deliver that information so much better than actually typing up an email. It's just not even the same game.
No, exactly. It's two different leagues we're almost talking about here. I think from just getting everybody on the same page here, when we're talking digital sales room, it was a category that GetExit, along with two others, created in 2021. So we're actually only 3 years back here. So it's a fairly new concept. And that's also why a lot of these webinars are being done right now, because we really want to make sure that we position this in your mind on, what is this actually able to help you with from a seller side, but also from a buyer side. And one of the things that Brad is talking about here is this complex buying journey, going from a prompt identification and then all the way to getting into a vendor and choosing that right person. There's so many steps, there's so many ways and areas where we can help the buyers today, but they're also being, overthrown with information. So today, for most sales reps, it's a lot about sense making. It's a lot about helping them connect the dots on all that information. And the digital sales rooms really enables that by gathering all information in one room, and then enhances your storytelling. And you'll see some great examples on this webinar. To put it into perspective, and I think this is also the journey that we're normally going through with our customers. You can basically get going with a digital sales room like this tomorrow. Instead of sending out emails and attaching whatever you're attaching there, you would use a digital sales room and then upload your information in, one by one, piece by piece. And then you'll start getting the insight of who's looking at it, how are they engaging in it, are they sharing with other stakeholders, and you get that information and able to influence when you're not having on-air time with your buyers. But most people, they take it a step further, and that's also what Brad and his team has done, where you're basically building a template, which is dynamic, meaning you can create a whole room that is created from the get-go, and then you can tweak it once you get into the different elements during the process, and step-by-step unhide elements that are important to help your buyers take a decision, like technical information needs to be shown now after the third meeting and so forth. And then the third step is where you really connect this, not just from a sales process level of a structure, but also connect to a sales methodology. So if you're using a qualification model like MedPick or a sales methodology like Challenger, you can really start to connect those dots so you're both aligning your internal sales process with the external buying process through the content and how you're presenting it, and also how you're making it easy for your sales reps to find it and use it. So really just connecting all this into a CRM enables you to become that air between a CRM system and your buyer, where you formerly had an email and a PDF and all kinds of different attachments or tools like a proposal tool individually, where we're doing the whole thing basically. And just some data on this. We had, both Forrester, Gartner, to name a few. They're basically mentioning that 68% of B2B buyers, they prefer to research on their own, meaning you as a sales rep really get less and less time with buyers to influence those decision criteria and also create that urgency that really is critical for you to, get this prioritized internally instead of losing to status quo or losing to a competitor that makes it better. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about with Brad here, like how are they actually beating these competitors based on making all this into a digital sales room so they can stay and create that urgency and really connect the dots for the buyers so it makes it easy for them to buy and create that strong first impression. And then in the end, you'll get that DSR playbook I talked about. So I really want to make sure that you guys stay on the call. And for people that are watching the recording, you will already receive it in your email after this, where you can have access to your own digital sales room playbook with the actionable tips from Brad. All right, having summed all this up, now I'm getting low on air here. I wanted to throw it over to you, Brad, because the first thing we talked about was then, what was the backstory? Where did this need from the beginning created the need for looking into digital sales room? How did you even stumble upon us actually? And how did you solve this before?
I guess I got lucky. It was really great timing. So me and the team, we had a whiteboard session at the office. We do our quarterly sprint meetings, and we really just try to think about what are the problems that we're having and how are we going to solve them? What are our bottlenecks? And we knew that we needed to create a way to share information, one, with the team. So how do you hire and train your team properly? Two, how do you sell properly? How do you present and have a great presentation to your customers? And then we had, in my business, I have to work with a bunch of strategic partners. So I work with a bunch of lenders. And so we needed to communicate with them as well. They need our compliance decks and the flows that we're building from them and all of the information around our product. So we needed a stream way to communicate with them. Then we had our affiliates, and we're like, okay, so we have 4 buckets of communication that we need to be able to do. We need to be able to do it seamlessly and professionally, and really not have to take the time that it takes to recreate the wheel over and over and over. So we did this huge whiteboard. We had our 4 buckets. We put every single piece of information that we could think of that we would need to share with those 4 buckets. And then we got with the dev team and we said, congratulations, you're going to build this for us. Okay. And there's going to be a way for us to share all of this information seamlessly so we don't have to think about it. And they were like, okay, well, because they always tell me, yes, we can do that. That's no problem. But then they're like, but you could probably find something out there that already does this. So why don't we do a search? We got lucky. We stumbled upon you guys very quickly. Got on the phone. It was exactly what we were looking for. I was almost shocked. I was just like, okay, hold on a second. So we can just pay this small fee and then have all of this right at our fingertips and just do this now. And so that's what we did. We pulled the trigger very quickly. We didn't get started quickly. We were a little ahead of the curve because we had to build all the content and really start getting things going. So your team was fantastic. Kira over there, having her as support was unbelievable. She stayed on top of us and she really kind of helped us get the ball rolling. And now it's just a snowball rolling down the hill. We have rooms for every single aspect of our business. We're able to present to everybody at the touch of a button. And it's really just changed the way people really perceive us as a business. It's funny, I was talking about we're launching this medical group with 255 practices. And I'm like, well, how do you want to do X, Y, and Z for training? And he simply replied, well, we're just going to use your magical nest, and so we're going to pop all the information in there. So that presentation, the way we present ourselves to our partners, it just sets ourselves apart. Like so many times people are like, well, man, you're just light years ahead of your competition was another quote we got the other day, because when we show up, we're ready to go. The information is there. And so it's been a fantastic journey. It's only been a year since we signed up. And we've moved mountains, and we have really big initiatives going into our 4th sprint of the year. We're going to really focus on the team and build out a really strong construct. So as we grow and scale and we bring new team members on, they feel welcome and a part of our community right out of the gate. And we're going to do that all through our nests and y'all's rooms. So it's been a great journey.
Thanks, Brad. And for the people that are just joining now, I see people still popping in. It's Nest is essentially equals to digital sales room. It's just the internal names that Brad are using, and also towards their buyers, because they're creating a whole nest of information. And I think we should start looking into those nests, because one of the things that we promised you guys that are joining this webinar is we're going to show you ways to delight your buyers. And Brad just touched upon it, basically quoting customers that are saying to Brad that they're light years ahead of their competition on how they're doing this, how impressive it is, how delightful it is. So Brad, would you mind sharing, when we're talking about the status quo and the internal, why change? We've always done it like this. Why should we start delighting our buyers, and how have you started to do that now and really beating that status quo?
Well, we really look at it, as a process. So as you can see, we've got our wonderful little FormPiper bird up here, and he's got his little nest. So he brings all of his valuable information back here to share with everybody. And look, it starts with the presentation. And when somebody walks through your door, what do you have? You have a greeting, and you need to greet them. So every time before we have a meeting, we're going to brand it to the company that we're working with here, so they feel welcome. And in our doors, when I was a retailer, we used to have a reservation board at the front, and we would have everybody's name on it. So when they walk through the door, they knew, oh, they're waiting for me. They're here for me. And we'd ask people, oh, are you here for your reservation? And so we want people to feel that same way. We want them to be greeted by their dedicated FormPiper team. So whoever is the leader on that book of business is going to be here, and then they know that they have their support team that's going to be there to assist them. And then easy reachable contact information for everyone at the touch of a button. And then what we're able to do in our technology, we actually take the Nest link and we put it into our software as well. So at any point, if they're inside of the software, like, oh man, I need to talk to Brad, or I need to talk to Russ, they can click on the Nest link. It brings up all the information. And so it's always just right there for them. And then as we go through our process, what we love to do is we have our pre-demo, where they're going to get a nice welcome video from me. So everybody gets to learn about who I am, what I'm doing, why we built the product. We give them a case study for their industry. And then we really have our pre-demo checklist. So, the SDR playbook where they have to call and they have to ask all of the questions. Nobody likes that phone call, right? So it's just do a pre-video, send them the Nest, let them come in and answer these questions on their own accord. You get notified when you're ready to rock and roll. You can hop in there and you can check out the answers. Now you can be prepared for your demo. And then we did a cool little webinar section to where we drop in additional information. So if they just want to continue to get more information, they can dive as far as they would like to dive. Then when it's time for the demo, we're going to come in, they're going to have all of the information on our product. And the great thing is we do the demo here. So we're just going through this exact presentation. We're showing them how the navigation bar works. We're showing them how they can invite people, and really just making them comfortable with the situation. Because a lot of people, or almost everybody's just used to getting an email, right? So they're like, okay, hold on a second. This is overwhelming. Like, how do we do this, right? That's what we got in the beginning. And then when we started to do the demos in there, it was just like, this is unbelievable. And we knew they were getting in and they were interacting more often. So we put our sales presentations in here. I mean, it's cool. You can like blow things up and then you can go through them. So it formats the presentation all nice and clean for you. And then what we like to do too is we like to highlight certain aspects of our technology. So instead of it being in the presentation deck, we can create modals on what's most important for that customer. So reporting for me is one of the most important aspects of our business. So we did an entire section on reporting. So the buyer can come back and share with the team, like, look, this is a game changer. We need this data. This is what's going to set our business apart from the competition. And so they can hop right into that type of a modal. Sometimes we highlight future products. We also do, future product modals when we're talking to the development team or we're talking to our strategic partners. Then you can come in and you can put your pricing. And then most importantly, I think, is the post demo. So you can come in and give them action items to do on their own accord. And then another video, let's get started. What are your next steps? So again, a personal touch from me. And then we put the demo video in here. So now when they go share this with other people, they can watch the entire recording inside of the room, and they can navigate around the room based on the video. So they can simply pause it, like, oh, let me go over here and check that out, right? And then they can come back to the demo. So it's like you're almost just creating this wonderful environment for the person to learn everything that they need to know about your business. So they can just come back and either say, hey, I'm ready to rock and roll, or they're going to come back with the appropriate questions. So that's how we are using it to go through our process. I can dive deeper on secondary sales now, or I can do that later if that's an additional question.
No, but I think we might as well, because this piques some interesting thoughts. I mean, so one of the things that we hear a lot from customers that are fearing the concept of change when it comes to using digital sales room is, I like the idea as a salesperson, but will my buyers like it? And one of the things that we always talk to them about is, if you train your buyers by demoing this when you're on the meeting with them in the room, just like you're basically showing here, again, you're being a best practice. Well done, Brad. But essentially, then they get more familiar with it. It's like, the first time you went on the internet, you might have been a bit scared, but then you started to realize, and the first time you started with emails instead of sending out, paper posts. And this is the natural next step, because what we also see is that today 90% of the buying circle doesn't spend time with enough salespeople to actually create influence. So we have 90% of the time buyers are alone without us salespeople being able to influence them. So I wanted to ask you straight up, have you seen this being able to influence hidden stakeholders that you've talked to or you haven't talked to? Have you seen people that got invited into the room where you had no idea they were existing and stuff like that? And is this something that happens regularly?
Yeah, it happens all the time. Once you bring somebody in and you teach them how to use the room, and we always come up and we hit the invite button, we show them exactly how to invite people. You'll see new people popping in all of the time. And then you're learning who they are. Now that you have their email, you can actually go and look them up on LinkedIn, and you can understand, okay, who are the actual stakeholders that are actually interested in the product? And so at that next meeting, you're ready to discuss it with them at a higher level as well. And so it was really a game changer. When we first started, we did our demo, and then we would send them the link to the nest, and then they just didn't know what to do, right? And so as soon as we pivoted to that structure where we do everything in here, that comfortability, just changed the game. And then we collect a lot of documentation. We do the contracts with you guys as well. So they're doing their contracts. And then if we have to collect information for our other strategic partners, we upload all of our documents in here. And so we continue to force, if you will, the conversation in here for all the aspects of our business. So they just continue to get more comfortable, more comfortable, and more comfortable. And that really helps us down the road because, you know, I'm a retailer. I help retailers drive success in retail. It's not just with my software. My software is just how you make more money in your business. It helps you convert. But once you can convert, you need to market properly. You need to teach and train your team properly. There's a lot of things that we educate our team on and our customers on, and we can add those modules in here at the touch of a button, and then they're comfortable. So they come right back to the nest. They get the notification, oh, Brad and the team added something else new to my nest. Let me go in there and check out what it is. And then the next thing you know, they're booking a meeting, say, hey, I need to learn more about that digital marketing agency, or I need to learn more about that, you know, training center concept that you guys are talking about. So yeah, so if you're on the call and you're watching this, if you're using digital sales rooms, one, make sure you use Get Accept, but two, do all of your demos inside of the nest. Do not do them outside of the nest, and make sure you record it and then pop that recording inside of the room. That's super crucial.
Thanks, Brad. I think this is super tips. The shout out for Get Accept is always fun. I think, you know, when we're talking about the big focus here, competition is fierce today. There's a lot of companies that are trying to walk away from the SaaS graveyard, especially when it comes to people in SaaS, but also other companies. Like I've talked to a lot of companies that used to sell boxes solutions. We call it boxes solutions, where it's just, you know, transactional, and they're moving into solution selling all of them because they want to increase their average deal size. They want to make sure that they spend their time on the right things, and then potentially their lower should be handled with like more no touch elements to it. So meaning you have potentially a digital sales room that can then handle the no touch, because it can basically help sell for you. And then with the more enterprise and upmarket deals, then it's more about, you know, how can I really customize this and really, you know, collaborate sell with my buyers. But what I wanted to ask you specifically was, when you're going up market and you're meeting these bigger competitions out there, because there's a lot of companies out there selling solutions in your ballpark, how are you beating them right now? Like, what's the feedback you're getting? Could you give an example of, you know, one of the latest customers you won, and how that actually happened with the use of digital sales rooms?
Yeah, I was going head to head against all my big competitors, and it was to a big group, very large organization, hundreds of locations. And at the end of the day, I think it just really came down to the confidence that they had in my company, my team, and the way that we showed up every time. So we showed up prior to meeting them. They got beautiful information through the nest, right? Could learn about our company on their own time. I even heard that they had a group meeting, right? They were going through it, asking questions, getting ready, because these people are on point. And then when we showed up, we had a whole new element of the nest built out for them to show them exactly how we were going to go through the journey with them. And one of their big concerns was, how are we going to teach everybody in our organization how to do this? And so we had already built this entire training situation to show them, look, it's going to be very, very simple. We're going to go step by step in your nest, and we're going to show you exactly how to deliver this product. I don't actually have it in this nest. This is a different concept. But to kind of touch on it, imagine, you know, one of these modals here. Like, this is a great one. What we're able to do is have the videos come in, have a presentation on training. You could do webinars prior to, upload the webinars, and then have all of your getting started, your documents, and then additional resources. So what we did is we built out this entire training situation for their product. So we showed them, this is going to be your product. These are all of your lending partners. This is the training for every single resource. This link is going to be in every single one of the FormPiper dashboards for every single one of your businesses. We're going to be able to hold webinars and show these guys exactly how to go through this and how to access this at the touch of a button. So you kind of mentioned it here a second ago. It's one, how can you educate your buyer with the no touch? Well, think about training the entire organization with no touch. That right there is a game changer. They were like, okay, these guys have got it together. They're not going to leave us out here in the wind trying to figure this out. They knew that we were going to show up prior, two, we were going to deliver a great product, and three, we were going to make sure that they were successful with the product. And then I think the way we track data also really, really helped them, because the larger the organization, the more data they need in order to understand how to drive success. And our business tells them who they need to work with through data. And so you put all those things together, and the competition didn't stand a chance. I really do worry about them as we move into the future. It's not going to be a good year for them.
That's
I
a luxury problem to be in. But at the same time, I think, to summarize some of this that you're mentioning here, is that you were basically giving them the onboarding experience, showing them what is the team able to do for you even before they signed the contract. And instead of just talking about it like, we have a team, we're here, we'll help you, you use the digital sales room to basically showcase that you've invested time, because we have to invest time to win these big deals. But then that made you also stand out from competition, because you were able to show them, you're really in capable hands, and we've created the whole thing for you. And sharing this in an email would have been another experience than what you could do with a digital sales room, where you would have the storytelling and the whole, interactive elements to it as well.
Another really cool thing that we've been able to do too, we work with very large franchises. So we'll talk with the franchisor. They're sold, right? Like, this is fantastic. This is going to change our entire organization. But then it's like, well, now how do we work with our 700 franchisees? And so we create a wonderful nest. We talk about the partnership, create wonderful content around it, create great presentations, and then we're able to deliver that out to 700 organizations at one time. So now that they can all research this new partnership and understand what we're doing, understand product releases. And then as we move down the stream with them and we start to onboard them, they all get their own nest. And now they're already familiar with it. So they were introduced to our company through this wonderful presentation. And now they realize that they're going to have this resource through their entire journey. And so it's really just, there's just no way that we could be doing what we're doing without it. Like, if I was working with that franchise, let's send out a neat email to your franchise group, so they can understand who we are and, get to know us. Like, that would not work. It just wouldn't.
And I'm not even going to start talking about, the impact of this, because what you told me when we had the dry run on this, and we always practice a little bit with the people here, so they know what they can expect from me. But it's always a different story, to be fair. Brad and I are always freestyling here. So, but one of the things we did talk about was that you were working very differently before GetAccept came in. You were working with a different segment, a smaller segment. And we kind of helped you move up market, which I think is also, another impact to this that made actually possible for you to start competing with these enterprise deals. But could you tell a little bit about, what actually happened in this, and what did you started to see on winning the right deals?
Yeah, our journey, I feel like, was probably very similar to most SaaS companies, founder-led out of the gate. I built the product for my business. I solved a problem, and then my community came on. And then I was like, okay, so now how do I take the business to the next level? And so I did the predictable revenue model. I read that book. I was like, okay, I'm going to hire SDRs. We're going to book demos. I'm going to have my AE do the demo, and then I'm going to have my CSM, manage the account. I'm going to follow that exact construct. So built my scorecard, and we were making 10,000 calls a month, right? We're tracking the data. The call. What are you doing after the calls? You're sending email after email after email, and you're hoping that those phone calls turn into demos. We would show up and we would just do the demo on a screen share, maybe record it sometimes, maybe not, because we didn't have a good construct to put that, demo somewhere. And then hope that these people would sign up for our business, or be able to communicate to the additional parts of the team. And we were successful. We tracked the data. Like, we had a great show rate to our demos. We had a great close ratio, but we were signing up everybody that we could. I was kind of in that discovery phase. Like, if you had a pulse and you thought my business would work for you, let's go. And what we learned is we had churn. We had a lot of churn, a lot of inactivity, because we just really couldn't get the people engaged. And it was because they were single operators, right? They were in their business, working every day, grinding. And so as we analyzed our data and we realized, okay, all the people that are staying with us are typically 4 locations or more, really 10, when you get up to 15 and 20, they're not going to change their system once we get in there because we're bringing such good value. And so what we realized though is we had to communicate with these people differently, right? It was a much longer sales process. We needed to get them the right information. And that whole SDR, AE, CSM model just didn't work. And so we shifted to more of a full service model where we go out and we work with strategic partners. We build out wonderful collateral in our digital sales room with those strategic partners. They introduce us to their customers. And then I have one rep for that customer the whole time. We go through the digital sales room, the presentation, and then once they're closed, they continue to develop that relationship with that one person and continue that journey inside of that digital sales room with that same person. And we can do that because we can educate at scale, right? We can demo and give them the information at scale. And so I don't have to have these stair steps along the way where that journey is just, to me, not personal. I want to develop a long-term relationship with my clients. I want my team members to become professionals like me in our space. And so they can bring that value every time to our customer, right? And the customer doesn't feel like they're getting this segmented journey. Once we welcome them into our doors, it's presentation from the day one, and basically forever, because our enterprise accounts don't churn. They just hang out forever. I'm doing a little manifestation right there. I'm just
let's yeah, I'm the same. All right, so if we wrap this up, there's some questions that I know people would like to answer, and I think one of the things was that Ola early on asked, what is the best practices with DSRs in terms of customizing this individually for each new customer? And I'm thinking he's also let me know if something is not understandable here, Ola. How do you actually do it time-wise? What are the elements you want to implement when you're doing a best practice on creating these? I'm guessing you've been starting to become quite good at it.
So, if you're gonna, what I would say is just immediately get started, right? So step 1 is build your demo. Just get your demo room done and get your team working in a situation where you're doing all of your presentations in there. And don't wait for it to be perfect. It will never be perfect. You're going to continue to build upon your rooms forever. But work with the Get Accept team. A part of the deal is you get assistance. They will help you build the rooms, but they can only help you build the rooms if you tell them what you want in the room, right? So it's just dive in, get that first room done, start using it. And what happens is when you start to get momentum, you get ideas. And you're like, oh, well, it'd been really cool to have this in the room. And then you build that. And then the next presentation happens, like, oh, if we would have followed up with this information, we would have crushed it. Let's put this into the room, right? So don't worry about mind map and everything. It was cool for us. We did the whiteboard, but we were 4.5 years into business. Like we knew, like, okay, we need to get this stuff organized. This is out of control. So depending on where you're at in your business, just get started. The rooms will compound. And then the next thing you know, I think we've probably got about 100 different modules inside of our nest that we can plug and play at any given moment, depending on the opportunity.
And yeah, and thank you for sharing this. And to mention this, I've seen there's a question about, hiding and unhiding elements in regards to the left navigation bar. It is fully customizable for teams. There's different elements to whether you're owner of the room or your collaborator, meaning you can work together in a team and then someone owns it as like a project leader on who can show what. And then you would highlight as you go along and unhide and hide different elements in that left sidebar. So yeah,
Tuck and show real quick. So yeah, you come in, you hit the edit mode, you can come over here to your navigation bar, and then you can simply click on them, and then you can just hide the page. So you can just change it at the touch of a button anytime, and you're back in the game. Easy peasy.
And I think that one of the things that is a bit of the things, and I think Patrick is also touching upon it here with a question, is what is the most challenging aspect of creating and working with these nests? Creating flows, content, having these internally updated, change management, all of these elements. How do you handle this from a change management perspective, but also content management perspective?
I would definitely assign one person to the project. So have a leader on that. Like Michelle on my team is fantastic. She has taken this from the ground zero to where we're at today. So if I didn't have Michelle working with Kira on a regular basis, it would have just been a nightmare. So you don't want a bunch of cooks in the kitchen. And then Michelle, what she would do, we do weekly meetings, and then the team would come and just basically report back, hey, this is how the nest worked for me. These are the things that I would like to see. And so we created our nest war board. And so we would have all of the things that we wanted to build in the nest. And then just take it step by step. It can definitely feel overwhelming. So I think really the most challenging thing at the end of the day is just getting started, right? Because once you get started, there's no stopping it, because now you almost get addicted to it. You're just like, we need the next the modal. I need the new modal. I can't show up to the next meeting without the next modal. So work with the team, get started, have one person do it. And I would suggest hiring somebody to help you with some initial graphics. Like if you don't have somebody on the team, come in with some really nice branding so the rooms look really good. Because when we tried to do it ourselves at first, and it was not good. Like it was just like, we need some graphic design, we need some Kira. And then once we got the rhythm, we can make a room look really, really nice.
And I think this is what Brad is touching upon, just to go back to one of the slides I shared. You can literally get started tomorrow, just starting uploading and sharing existing content in a space. The benefit there is you'll start to track and get analytics of what stakeholders are engaging, which you won't get in an email. You only know if they opened it or not. And even that is something that Google and a lot of others are cracking down on these days. And then you can start building those templates. And what we always do in GetAccept as a best practice is we insist, and we very rarely sell a solution with GetAccept without having customer success solutions involved, meaning we're insisting on you guys to get a customer success package in place. And I remember Brad being surprised on that back in the days, but I think now he's pretty happy that we had Kira to be there and support on this between him and Michelle.
I definitely tried to negotiate it away. I'll be honest, at first it kind of felt, man, I'm being sold this extra package, like it should be included, and I pushed back on it, and you guys were like, and no, okay, like you have to buy it, it comes with it. And the reason I found out that you guys do it, I think it's twofold. One, we wouldn't have been successful without it, and you guys know it. I'm sure you've measured your churn, and you had churn prior to, right? And once you implemented it, you saw the churn go away, because we probably would have churned. It really took us probably 4 or 5 months to really get the ball rolling. I'm sure Kira was like, these guys are never going to do anything, but she stayed on top of us and got it done. So you eliminated the bottleneck for your company by making sure that people were getting the resources. And then 2, after working with you guys, I know that you guys have a genuine goal for success with your clients. And so that package is going to make me successful. And so it was a non-negotiable for you guys. And so we really appreciate that.
You see, Kira had faith, and thank you so much for this, Brad. I really appreciate it. It's been such an honor and so much fun to have you here. I'm hoping to do more webinars with you in 2025. I understand you're starting to go on that journey as well yourself. I wanted to wrap up with mentioning again, we have the giveaway. So everybody's going to receive this DSR playbook with Brad's actionable tips and tactics that he's gone through today. And I would also wanted to mention that we're doing another one. It's going to be on Victoria. Please let me know what date it is. She's going to text it here. December 4th is it now, not 3rd. I moved it ahead one schedule because I'm in the air. And it's going to be with the amazing Cameron Adams from Gong. She's one of their top reps, and she's loving digital sales room as well. She's going to share a lot about multi-threading, how to really do this best practice. So what Brad was talking about, influences these hidden stakeholders with beautiful presentations and elements. And she's going to take it one step deeper and go into different tips on how the best reps at Gong are doing this, utilizing digital sales rooms to multi-thread. And I'm super excited for this. I'm super excited for the upcoming webinar with Cameron. I hope you guys will tune in. We will start posting about it 10, 12 days ahead, I guess. And until then, take care out there. And thank you so much for your time. Thanks, Brad.